the act of opening your body to let someone else's body penetrate you essentially creates like a energetic breaking of a seal, right? And we want that. That's what's so, sometimes infuriating, right? The best sex is the kind of sex where you feel like flattened into the universe, so to speak, right? Like you're wide open. There's very little of you, of the persona left, and it's just this blissful, open state of whatever you want to call it, surrender, right? That's what we all hope for. But because we all hope for that, this is a horrible thing to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. Because that's what we desire, we often open to that before that's available, is one way of saying that. Meaning we always assume that that's on offer. And it's not always on offer. On the contrary, it's very rarely on offer, as many of us have discovered, right? So more often than not, the experience is, well, I don't want to say more often than not, but sometimes the experience is you're already and dressed up for universal God sex, but that's not exactly what's happening, right? So meaning you have opened the portal into the divine, but what's actually happening is, it's a cork, It doesn't go in that deep, right? So it just maybe plugs the portal for a moment. Sorry. That's a really horrible way to describe it, but you know what I mean, right? Yes. Anyone else knows what I mean? Yes. Okay. So then you kind of settle for the cork. It's still good. You still feel relational. There's love. Oxytocin is emitted. It's happening somewhat. But that oxytocin, of course, makes it that we're much more willing to bond with somebody with whom we had sex with. If you would take the sex out of the equation, very often you kind of go 3 weeks or 4 weeks along or however long along, and you're like, yeah, no. But once the bonding has happened, once all the hormones happen, and then you of course have, imprints and all kinds of considerations beyond that. But I'm just now talking imprint via sex, right? So then, through whatever miracle or this, or misfortune, we never know what it is, you find somebody who, oh God, now I'm going to run out of metaphors, who has a cork oak instead of a cork. There's cork oaks all around here. I don't know if you know that. Corks are made from cork oaks. So suddenly you got a guy who has a cork oak, not just a cork, right? So it's a much deeper imprint. It's a much deeper penetration. It opens you more energetically, and it reaches further into that portal into the universe. Maybe you get an occasional glimpse of what's out there. So that deeper imprint is now the deepest you've reached into the universe, so to speak, and it leaves a shape. And so now there might be other reasons why that's, and so now your physical body's open, your heart's open, your energetic body has been penetrated, and it's deeper than the shallow stuff. And when that person leaves, because that was maybe the best thing about the relationship, and the rest wasn't so good, then the gap between the next person, let's say, and that imprint creates a real unpleasant kind of yearning, or even though you know it's wrong and you don't want it anymore and it's super pesky, it's still the deepest imprint. So, and it has a shape, and that shape is very specific. And because most women fantasize sexually about their deepest imprint, we're also constantly revisiting that imprint and polishing the shape. And so now that thing is, it's an entire oak inside your nervous system that is so intricately shaped that no other oak can fill it, so to speak, right? And now the only thing that can kind of replace the imprint of the oak is a forest. So you need to find a guy with a forest, and so on, right? So that's why it happens. And because of the fantasizing, often the sexual bliss and the sexual arousal is tied to that imprint, and when you don't want that anymore, it really messes with the arousal as well, and the ability to open the heart, and it's really, really detrimental. And I know some women, I got an email from somebody who I don't even know, who said, I've been married for 25 years. I still cry every day about the guy who I was with before my husband. Right? That's quite extreme, but that can happen. Right? And so that all said, when you understand the principles of the imprint, then you can go and reshape the imprint. And so there's ways to reshape the imprint. One of the ways, of course, is to find the guy with the woods, and and make good choices there, and allow that to open you wider. But then once again, if that doesn't work, then what? The other one is to reorient or reshape the imprint towards the thing that's beyond that, which is essentially God, however you understand her or him, right? So meaning a divine imprint that overtakes and erases the specifics of the man imprint. And then that divine imprint has an additional secondary effect, which is that it attracts a better human, so to speak, right? Because now you're shaped in a way that has, it's a certain disposition. So what that would mean technically is that you would have to replace any time, you would have to figure out what the imprint would be. I don't know. Jesus, Buddha, Shiva, an actual tree, could be nature, whatever, right? So something that when you see it holds the divine in your disposition. It could be very, very specific or very general. And then you essentially do practice to imprint yourself with that avatar of the divine. And so the way you would do that is with pleasure practice, with self-pleasure, with dance, with devotion, with deity yoga, with all the ways that one can do that, and then have that imprint be the thing that pops up, and anyone else who comes in there adds to it but doesn't reshape it, or fills parts of it but doesn't reshape it, is a better way of saying it. Correct. It goes deeper than a mere man can go, so to speak, right? In a good way, where your orientation is into the portal and not hoping that somebody shows you the portal. You already own the portal, so to speak. And if you want to go there with somebody, you're traveling on your own road, so to speak. You have to practice the universal avatar enough that in that moment you can see that thing pop up and you go, no, and then you go there. And the important thing is no. Well, it has to be a very sharp no, because you do have that, you have to develop the discipline to turn away and turn towards. It's always nope, but you always have to have something to turn towards. No alone doesn't do it. So there is the thing that happens and then the thing that causes what's happening, right? So there's always two things happening at the same time. So there's there's an outcome, and that is your voice isn't as strong and as resonant as you would like it to be. And then there's why is that? And the why is that might have a few layers. So one thing I can tell from the way you're speaking is your solar plexus and your diaphragm are tight, right? So that can have a few reasons. Some of them is just habit, some of them might be tension there, and then there could also be some psychological stuff there. But lucky for you, because it's the voice, this is something that's easy to work with because it's a common thing. So voice training is essentially a way to open and create open blocks and create pathways that allow your breath and your voice to flow freely. And that's available pretty much anywhere. You can do it online even, so you don't even have to leave the house or feel embarrassed, right? So that's the obvious thing to do. The why do you have that? You might not know, and you don't need to know, because one of the great things about practice, bodily practice, is that it will show itself without a doubt once you do the thing that counteracts it. Right? So meaning I'm saying to you, do voice training, and you go, yeah, and then you go there and you go, fuck that. If I talk that loud, they're gonna get me, right? Yeah, exactly. So, or I'll get punished, or I'm no longer lovable. Well, then you go, right? And then you go, yeah, and you deal with that part, in a more psychological way, but you continue the voice training while you address what's underneath. But you won't know what's underneath till you do the voice training.